Welcome everyone to another CoH2 replay cast. This time we're going to have a 2v2 on, as you can see, what's the name of this map again? Across the Rhine, sent in by, I believe, Last Mile. And I never noticed that little apostrophe thing in between. So we're going to have the good luck have funds. Jägermeister is going to be his ally, both OKW. Interestingly enough, on this map, I don't really believe double OKW is that good, but we will see how that works out. On the enemy team, we have HD Med Ida, probably Italy, and then Kursel. We have one USF and one Soviet. Now, we already see the Special Rifle Command coming out of Med Ida, and I believe that is going to be pretty dangerous for the double OKW because there aren't really that many counters that the OKW can use for the scout car other than the spam of Volksgrenadiers, but that gets countered by the Penals. So we will see how our OKW deal with that. I feel like that's going to be very dangerous for them. Now, the American build is going to be, looks like pretty standard, 2 riflemen, and for the OKW we have 1 Volksgrenadier and 1 Kübelwagen so far from Last Mile. That's a pretty standard opening. Kübelwagen obviously very good on this map because of its long distances that everyone has to cover to capture points, so having the Kübelwagen run about the points, capturing them, decapturing them from the enemy, harassing, doing all sorts of that business is really good in general. Now, we also have, looks like, just some Volksgrenadiers trying to fight these riflemen. Now, he was trying to close in distance with the Volksgrenadiers as well. I feel like he's just trying to get a lot of mass down on these riflemen, force them to split their fire between the 2 squads, and let the stern piles get in close, because if he had just closed in with the stern piles without the Volksgrenadiers supporting, then the stern piles might have been unnecessarily damaged by the riflemen, taking a lot of casualties for no reason, but he managed to avoid it, using his Kübelwagen to capture the point. The fuel, of course, being really good. However, on the other side, we do have Med capturing his own fuel point. Now, we see a double engineer opening. Interestingly enough, he decided to build the Special Rifle Command with his first engineer and then go for a double engineer opening. Usually, the reason you go for 2 engineers is that you'd send your first engineer out to cap, and then your second engineer you'd use to build a tier, either a tier 1 or a tier 2. Right now, it's more popular to use this kind of a strategy with tier 1. However, both are pretty decent strategies because the engineers are very cheap on the manpower. And if you're not getting any conscripts, then you're going to be able to get your tier 1 or tier 2 and then get something from it, perhaps a machine gun if you're going for tier 2 or a penal squad if you're going for tier 1. However, he decided to just go for double engineer and also build the building with the first engineer squad, which is really weird to me now. The double penal is going to be pretty good against these stern piles that Jägermeister has. Unfortunately, the problem is that he's really keeping them in a very bad building. This one is one of the worst buildings, in fact, in the entirety of Company of Heroes, if you like, because it's really bad. I mean, you have 1 window from the east, 1 window from the north, 1 window from the west, and 1 really, really oddly placed window to face the south. And the VP is obviously the one that's going to be important to cover from this building, so there are no windows covering the VP unless you're keeping your troops on the firing range of the eastern window, but that doesn't happen all that often. And if you're paying attention to what the enemy does on this building, you're going to be able to easily avoid the windows and do what the stern piles did in that earlier engagement from Jägermeister, which was simply walk up and take a lot of pot shots at the penals, reducing them to 2 men, and that was really good. Now, in the south, Last Mile is doing fairly well. He's managed to push back the Americans to the ridge. Of course, he's not going to have that much success for now in pushing up. I feel like these 2 Volksgrenadier squads could be pushed up. They could be decapturing the munitions point. And definitely these stern piles could be capturing this point right outside the base. I feel like that strategic point is very important to capture right now because that's pretty much their only source of fuel, along with the fuel point on the left, which has been contested this entire time. So actually, we do see a mine in a really weird placement from Jägermeister. He was clearly trying to capture the point with his stern piles, but I feel like the fact that he was building that mine in this really weird spot really didn't help because I'm not sure. It may have been that the riflemen who stopped the capture managed to deal so much damage to the stern pioneers. As you can see, they're very damaged because they were building the mine and thus taking extra damage from the building process. That might be why they were forced back before they could decapture the point. Now, in the center, we do see a small engagement between these two Volksgrenadiers and the Riflemen. If the Volksgrenadiers stay at long range, they will be able to easily outgun the Riflemen. And actually, last mile's Storm Pioneers, just as I said, don't build mines while under fire. The Storm Pioneers will likely wipe building the shoe mine. Now, one mistake that both OKW players are making is the fact that they are leaving these mines up, even though they really don't have any real chance to actually finish them. And that's really bad because this is 30 munitions that are being wasted. That could be used for an emergency Panzerfaust in case this M20, for example, starts to harass your units, start to destroy your units and wiping them, thanks to this really good chase potential. Now, really good job with the Penal Blob coming in and countering the harassment in the north, taking down a Volksgrenadier squad from Jägermeister. Now, as you can see, here comes the Panzerfaust. If you would have cancelled this mine, you would have 30 more munitions, and thus you would have enough munitions right now for a second Panzerfaust to destroy the M20. That's just a very, very small example. It worked out exactly as I was going to say. That is absolutely not luck. That is absolutely completely calculated that it worked out exactly as I said. But yeah, essentially that is the main problem. You don't want to be leaving these munitions doing nothing. It's just kind of like the same thing as you buying a unit and then leaving it in your base for like 5 minutes. It's exactly the same thing, except it's with munitions instead of manpower or fuel. So it's just as bad. And if both players would have just canceled these mines, they would have a lot more. Now, this is not very good for the OKW right now. I see that really a pretty good push from the Soviets managed to deal a lot of damage to the forces of Jägermeister. However, he did manage to actually complete his battle group headquarters in a pretty interesting location. Are there 2 battle group headquarters? Okay, see, this could have been interesting. If Jägermeister had gone for the field medics and Last Mile hadn't gone for his field medics, I would have said that that was because it was a sort of combined retreat point tactic where you have one guy build the medical point and you have one guy building the where you have both players building their retreat point, and you can have only one guy building the medical point to save resources. But both players built the medics, so that's really weird. Honestly, I really don't see the point of building both in the same spot. You want to know why? Because essentially, if it had been for saving the resources, it would have been okay, because it's fairly expensive to upgrade those medics. It's 15 fuel that you want to be using, sometimes for a flak half-track, which, by the way, right now would be excellent against the M20. It would be excellent against the Soviet Tier 1 as well, because the Soviet Tier 1 has no AT to counter the flak half-track, so I feel like both of these players should be going for a flak half-track, especially Jägermeister, because the Tier 1 for the Soviets is just really, really atrocious against light vehicles. So that would have been a really good counter to the Penal Blob that's been causing him so much trouble. Now, other than that, other than the waste of resources, I feel like there's no reason to put both trucks in the same spot, because if you had put them into 2 different areas of the map, it would have helped out with the map control in 2 different areas of the map instead of only 1. Because what essentially the forward retreat point does on the battle group headquarters is that it helps with the map control by having your units take a shorter retreat path. And so they are able to move back into the fight quicker, as, by the way, right now, really good actually getting the 50 cal up by the Americans, because the 50 cal is actually really good in these open maps, and especially to counter sort of similar German machine guns, and to sort of off-balance the fact that the Soviet player went for the Tier 1 and so does not have the access to Maxims. Now, also the Soviet player is going for a T70, and right now Jägermeister is kind of lacking an AT. He's only got a Panzer Shrek upgraded on his Stern Pioneers. I feel like he should definitely go for Arkenwerfer with that extra manpower that he's got. It's something that I always do with OKW. Whenever I have a little bit of an extra excess of manpower, I just think, oh yeah, it's time for a Raketenwerfer. And even if I have a Raketenwerfer, oh yeah, it's time for a second Raketenwerfer. Because Raketenwerfers, you can never have too many of them. If you're finding yourself in a position where you have too much manpower and you're not being horribly pushed back, as Jägermeister is kind of doing, so I feel like he could also do a little bit more anti-infantry, especially to deal with these penals. Again, the flak half-track would have been great for that. But, hey, That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. But yeah, still, once you're finding yourself in a position where you have a lot of manpower and you're not really needing more infantry, you're not really needing more of anything, you could just get more weekend warfares to counter something like a surprise T-70 or something like a spam of T-34s or a spam of Shermans. That is always very scary. Now, that's not the correct way to use Storm Pioneers, because in this map there are quite a few red cover spots that you don't want to be placing yourself in. Now, good usage of the satchel charge is going to be blowing up the truck. Unfortunately, he really misplayed over here. He's leaving his penal battalion way too close to the actual explosion of satchel charge, and he's not following through. He would have had the munitions for another satchel charge, and in fact, if he would have waited for about half a minute flamethrowing the building, he would have been able to actually destroy it as well. Now, so far, Last Mile seems to be the one holding up a little bit better, and he's going to cement that by actually building a Schwerpanzer headquarters in the south, and I feel like it's a little bit too exposed in this position. Maybe over here it would have been better, because what really Last Mile is looking to do with this Schwerpanzer headquarters is covering the VP and the fuel. And from this position, he would have been able to cover both the VP and the fuel pretty easily, as well as from this position. What this position does is essentially render his Schwerpanzer headquarters a lot more vulnerable to an random Soviet or American anti-tank gun that will be coming up. In fact, Kersel went for the double early tier strategy. He went for both captain and lieutenant. Now, I feel like Last Mile was maybe hoping that the fact that the enemy had a lieutenant meant that he would not be able to bring out anti-tank guns anytime soon. However, Kersel went for that, and he's probably going to go for the tactical support company later on for the Calliopes to have that extra late-game firepower without resorting to actually getting the major out and delaying his sort of fuel expenses even further, because, of course, getting all three of the tech buildings, tech officers, as in the case of the Americans, is, of course, very, very expensive and delays your actual unit building. However, with the Calliope, having that call in from off-map in the late game is really good because, of course, you don't need to actually spend the 125 or 120 fuel of the major. Now, in the north, we had a M20 armor car, which is actually still alive, and it's actually placed a few mines, which is really good with the M20. That's exactly how you want to use it. Now, good usage of the Jägermeister's MG34. Unfortunately, he's probably... Actually, no. He looks like he's going to be able to suppress the penal blob just in time for them to not be in any kind of range to flamethrower the machine gun to death. However, the machine gun is also in pretty big trouble. It is vet 1, and it can shoot incendiary armor-piercing rounds at this M20. However, the M20 could just strafe around it. Even with the damaged engine, it would be pretty easy for the M20 to actually just run around it, force the MG3 reposition, and then the American infantry and the Soviet infantry could just push up from the front and easily take the area. Now, we do see the shoe mine over here being ready to be finished. However, there is a T-70 somewhere. Oh, no, that was actually the AT gun. Where is the T-70? Did the T-70 die? Please tell me. Oh, no, okay. It was at base actually repairing, which is interesting. Now, again, right now, Last Mile should have noticed that his mine was not completed. In fact, he did order his Storm Pioneers to finish the mine. But then when he was pushed away, he decided to not cancel it. I'm pretty sure at this point he doesn't know that he can cancel mines. When you cancel, you just select the mine and you press X to cancel. You regain the resources, unless it was like 75% or over completion. I think that's the usual rule for structures, that if they are, I believe, over 50% or 75%, I don't remember the actual number, the resources that you gain, that you regain by canceling the building are not regained anymore. So you just lose them. However, I'm not sure if for mines and traps it is the same. Now, really good push by the Allies in the north. Unfortunately, Jägermeister was really, really reckless with his infantry over here, because he should have definitely recognized the danger that was the American and Soviet light vehicles over here. With light vehicles, you want to retreat as quickly as possible with your infantry, possibly only after shooting a Panzerfaust or some kind of snare. However, sometimes you just want to retreat immediately, especially if your squad is something like an Obersoldan. In fact, the Obersoldan were trying to kill the Soviet sniper, but the Soviet sniper was easily able to retreat away from the bundle grenade of the Obersoldan, and of course the Obersoldan were almost wiped out by the T-70 and the M20. Now, we do see Jägermeister going for a Panzer IV, of course. Where did he build his Panzer quarters? Looks like in the base. Yep. No, actually in the medical HQ area. Now, that is, I believe, a better placement for the Panzer quarters because it covers an area that is very important, which is these two HQs. However, it does so in a way that is very safe. It's going to be very hard for an AT gun to push up to an area where it can actually get a line of sight on this Panzer quarters. Now, in the center, we do see a counter push from the Germans. In terms of VPs, we do see a pretty good lead for the Germans. The Allies are down to 320, and the Germans are at 420, or rather 430. And right now, we actually see a pack howitzer on... No, wait. Somehow, a support gun was stolen, and it's dealing a huge amount of damage to this Panzer quarters. Oh boy, you never want to actually allow the enemy to steal something like a support gun, because, yeah, usually... Okay, actually, really nice grenade assault from Last Mile, who has chosen special infiltration tactics. Actually, he chose that at the beginning of the game, and I just forgot to talk about it. However, he did use the infiltration grenade assault against the support gun. That was a good choice. The infiltration grenade assault is very cheap and very good against, of course, support weapons that are hard to maneuver around and don't really have an option to dodge, that kind of stuff. And again, there's a minesweeper. Why wouldn't you just minesweep the mine? You can see the mine when it's building with a minesweeper, so I'm not sure why he wouldn't just minesweep it. No. The minesweeper is going to die from the STG upgraded Volksgrenadiers, so just feeding them a little bit of veterancy. Unfortunate little circumstance for Kursel, who did not really pay attention to his units. And we see Soviet Reserve Army. What an interesting actual little doctrine selection. Now, a lot of you may be just thinking at this point, oh, what a noob. He chose Soviet Reserve Army, blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. It's actually a good idea, though. And I'll explain why. First off, Soviet Reserve Army, I'm biased in the opinion for this commander because I just personally really enjoy playing it. It's just fun. I don't know, I like it. And really, the thing about the Soviet Reserve Army that I really like is the fact that with the rapid conscription and the Papashas allowing you to rebuild your infantry force only with essentially spending munitions and having them be decent in these kinds of long-range maps, it doesn't work quite as well as something like on Trois Ponts or another very close-range map for 2v2. Well, in a way, crossing in the woods, despite the fact that the engagements are usually very long-range, the map itself is small, so you can easily flank around and do the kind of things that are required. In general, on maps like these, the Papasha conscript horde doesn't work quite as well, but still, the rapid conscription, what it essentially does allow you to do is the fact that, by the way, really, really bad losing that over Sudan. Ved 1 with LMGs, really, really bad loss. Right now, the Panzer IV should be actually countered by the American AT guns, but the AT guns so far, there's only one of them, and I feel like the Soviet player should definitely back tech to tier 2 to get AT guns. Though I feel like, of course, right now he's going to spend most of his resources to actually get the ML20, which I'm going to talk about later. Again, what it essentially allows you to do is... Ooh, he should have activated right about now, because this engagement was fairly costly for him. He lost a sniper and quite a lot of models on his penals. Essentially, every 6 deaths, every 6 losses, you get a... Oh yes, every 6 losses you get a conscript squad, and what you can do with that is you can use the conscript squad as a reinforcement tool, because remember, conscripts have the ability to merge into different squads, so you don't necessarily have to send that squad into combat to actually fight the enemy and take losses of its own and be a manpower drain on you. You can just keep your conscript squad at base. And as you can see, I'm indicating the base with my cursor. By the way, this Panther is really charging it a little bit too close to the American lines. The Panther is very good, of course, with its armor. However, it is very vulnerable to infantry because of its limited anti-infantry usefulness. And it's, of course, in general, very weak rear armor that allows the bazookas to easily penetrate it from the rear and deal a lot of damage to it. Now, also the German infantry trying to push against the American base is not having the most luck. And the T-70 pushing up could deal a lot of damage to the retreating Volksgrenadiers. However, T-70 seems to choose caution? No, seems to choose rashness. Very lucky that the Raketenwerfer crew actually fucks up and misses the first shot. If that first shot had hit, as it should have, that T70 would be dead right about now. However, it didn't, and the T70 was very lucky to escape. Right now, the T70 is actually up to vet 2, which means that it's got the superior... wait, what? Is it tier... Oh, it's actually vet free. Oh, I believe they changed that. It used to be vet 2 that the T70 would gain an improved recon mode, but apparently right now it's vet free, so... yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same. When it gets to vet free, it is a very useful ability for the Soviets because you can use the recon mode and it's got a very huge line of sight, especially coupled with something like an SU-85 or an SU-76. Going for the SU-85 is a good, really good choice for Med because he needs that extra long-range AT because he doesn't have any AT guns. So having that SU-85 is going to be really good for him. Also because of the fact that, by the way, this is a really bad assault onto a very narrow choke point, and it's probably going to fail. These Storm Pioneers should get wiped by these veteran LMG riflemen, and these veteran LMG riflemen mean that Kersel went for, of course, the Tactical Support Company, as I predicted, and it is really the best choice for him right now, especially because of the Calliope being available to him. Also relieves Med from having to buy Katyushas with his fuel, and now Med will be able to use T-34s and Su-85s a lot more sort of freely, instead of having to get Katyushas to be an artillery component for his team. Now, talking about the ML-20, as we see it over here, it's already starting to fire, looks like over here. Exactly as I said, it is really good to take out the structures of the Germans, because it can just keep up a constant barrage of shells against the German positions, and whenever an enemy German unit goes into... Whoa, I'll talk about that later. Goes into actually repair, it's going to run the risk of actually taking a huge amount of damage from the artillery shells falling all around it, because of course, extra vulnerability when you're building, plus huge giant 122mm HE shell falling down on you equals you're dead. And then when you're dead, that's a lot of manpower. And of course, OKW sometimes does have the weakness of using a little bit too much manpower in the later games with in the later stages of the game with the Obersoldaten and the very expensive Sturm Pioneers. You have to get quite a lot of to actually repair your shit. Now, we do have a Panzer IV push by Jägermeister, and that was not a good Panzer IV push. He decided to actually just run into the... Oh, he did manage to take out the ML-20, which he actually counter-batteried with his LEFH. LEFH actually has 20 kills. I did not realize this. That was a really good, actually, LEFH. Now, we do see the Penals being pretty close to the Panzer IV. However, they can't do anything because they don't have any anti-tank grenades. Again, if he would have used the Rapid Conscription to get to replace some of his losses with conscripts, and he would have maybe an extra conscript spare around here, he would have been able to anti-tank grenade this Panzer IV and use the Su-85 to actually chase it. And again, he would have been supporting his SU with the T-70. He wouldn't have needed to use the SU in focus side mode. He would have been able to just use the T-70 to provide the line of sight, and then use the Su-85's improved speed from not having to stay in recon mode, which obviously reduces your speed by quite a lot and your maneuverability by quite a lot, to be much more effective against the Panzer IV, much more flexible in its sort of chasing down the Panzer IV. Now, we do see a Pak 43 being built. I feel like he's going to go for a satchel charge attack against the building Pak 40, and that's going to probably destroy it. Yep, goes down. So that was a good actual sort of damage control on the Pak. He wouldn't have been in sort of too much of a big trouble if the Pak 43 would have gone up, because right now Kersel does have the Calliope. He's already used it once. We do see actually a flare from Last Mile. Really good usage of the flares to actually spot the American defenses on the right side of the map. And right now, what the Americans and the Soviets really need to do is get control of 1 VP, because they're down to 200 points, and they can't really afford to, in any way, sort of wait longer. Now, we do see a Calliope barrage on this, but for Volkswagen, you're very, very lucky to actually live. Usually, Calliope barrages pretty much wipe out anything in the midst of it. Pretty much anything caught gets completely demolished, and especially if it was right at the center of the barrage like this Volkswagen here. That's when it really hits home, when it's also really close to the firing position, which it was. So yeah, very lucky to actually live there. Now, Jägermeister somehow has lost all of his infantry. I'm not sure how. I just... Okay, I'm dumbfounded. He maybe walked into a demo charge? It's possible. I'm not sure. We do see a lot of traps in the north by both players. We do see an S-mine field from Jägermeister. Of course, the S-mine field can be quite easily be destroyed by the grenades from the rifleman. Actually, we don't have grenade tech yet from CoH2, which is, I feel like, a mistake. Because, well, actually, he doesn't have that many munitions to use. So I feel like that may be a conscious decision that could actually be good. Now, ooh, sniper goes down by the Stuka barrage from Jägermeister. So Jägermeister going... No, last mile. Last mile going for the Stuka. So we have both teams going for both standard sort of artillery pieces and also rocket artillery pieces. And I feel like artillery sometimes rules 2v2s, especially long ones like these are very much decided by who can use their artillery and their tank destroyers better. Right now, the Allies are doing fairly well with their tank destroyers. However, they're not really doing that well with their artillery. Right now, the German artillery really has been the king of the battlefield. And along with the German defenses, such as these machine guns, they've been able to keep the Allies out of the VPs. However, the Allies seem to be regaining their sort of upper hand a little bit. We do see a Jagdpanzer out on the field from Jägermeister. Of course... Jägermeister will have to use that very, very carefully because the Jagdpanzer is very, very vulnerable to being flanked, especially from something like these riflemen equipped with the bazookas, because two of the rifleman squads that CoH2 has are equipped with bazookas, and two of the rifleman squads are equipped with the M1919 LMGs. Now, I feel like that may not be the most optimal of setups. Perhaps going for 3 rifleman squads equipped with M1919 light machine guns would be pretty important because of the fact that he needs to win these engagements at the long range against the Obersoldaten, against the Volksgrenadiers upgraded with STGs, though most of them have been destroyed. We do still have a couple from last mile, so he needs to have that definite superiority that pretty much means that he cannot lose engagements at long range. However, the real problem right now for the Allies is the fact that the Germans are just able to hunker down. Well, right now the Panzer headquarters in the south was actually destroyed. I'm not sure when. Probably by a combination of the Calliope, the support gun. I'm not sure where the support gun went. Might have been destroyed. Yeah, the Soviet player doesn't have the support gun anymore. That's really unfortunate for him, but I'm really not sure what happened to it. Oh, we actually see a demo mine. Okay, I'll talk about that later. Now... Yeah. Interesting. So we have a Panzer IV in the south, 23 kills. This was the original OG Panzer IV, and of course it's been doing really well because, unlike the other one, which was suicided, it was actually kind of... well, this one had a very, very audacious attack against the ML20 as well. However, it did pretty well for itself, and it's really good against the Su-85 because, of course, if you can manage to flank the Su-85, as it is trying to do right now, from an unexpected direction, it can do really well. However, the Su-85 should really get the focus sight to be turned off because, whoa, actually destroying the AT gun. Very lucky on the German vehicles to actually demolish the AT gun completely so that it cannot be used to harass them while they're retreating. Now, the Panzer IV is taking a lot of damage from these bazookas, and the bazookas are able to easily reinforce because there is a ambulance over here. I'm not sure if Jägermeister realizes this. He's taking a huge amount of damage, and his vet-free Panzer IV with 35 kills goes down. We do see a some kind of artillery coming down on the area. I'm really not... Oh, no, it's actually the Major locking down the sector. Okay, never mind. That was the opposite. So we do see, finally, the Major attack for CoH2, and the Jackson is on the field. I'm not sure about that. I feel like the Allies really need one medium tank to sort of rule the flanks and use that as a counter-harassment tool, as a sort of, you have a machine gun, oh yeah, I have a cheap medium tank kind of a deal. Because right now, a lot of the successes of the Germans depend on the fact that they can right now kind of just stall, pretty much because of their superior VP position. They don't really mind being one-capped. So if they can just stall, keep the southern VP under their control, especially with the Schwer Panzer headquarters and this machine gun, they will be able to easily do that. And if they can do that, then they can pretty easily sort of just keep one VP, have that be their sort of secure policy, quote unquote, and sort of use that to get a new force, essentially, as Last Mile is doing. Because as you can see, he's got Stuka, he's got 3 Volksgrenadiers, and soon enough he will have probably enough fuel for the Command Panther. Right now there's no sound, which is weird. Yeah, it's kind of one of the many sound bugs of Company of Heroes. The music sometimes just doesn't work, but that's whatever. So we do see another ML20 from Med, and he's going to be pounding the German positions with that, actually spawning the Oberstland right as the shells were just flying down, and that was really lucky to avoid that horrible fate for his newly spawned 400 manpower. Is it 400 manpower? Yeah, it's 400 manpower. Oberstland. That would have been pretty bad. But yeah, again, really, wow. I'll talk about the demo mines later, I'll promise. Again, the fact is that while the Allies have the unit superiority right now, as you can clearly see from the pop caps, they have about 60 more pop cap between them against the Germans. The Germans still have the VP lead, which means that they don't really need to fear losing by VPs anytime soon, so they can kind of play safe, sort of rebuild their forces, not sending them in to suicide charges. Now, he could definitely recruit this MT-34 over here, Last Mile. I feel like he should definitely do that and get the fuck out of there with the Pino Blob being there. Now, of course, again, really good play with the M20. M20 is still alive, used as a counter-harassment tool. But one day, the Germans will bring something that the M20 can deal with, so having the medium tank to sort of replace the M20 in this kind of a role would be really good. Now, the M20 has still been running about placing down mines, which is really good, because you want to be sneaky with the M20. You want to place those mines, because right now, if the Germans forget to get minesweepers, as Jägermeister is doing, and as Last Mile is also doing, then any random vehicle that just goes for here, and maybe just driving to a fight over here, that's very important that it gets to really quickly. Oh, look, there's an M20 mine. Now it has to be repaired. And now you have to bring up some Storm Pioneers. You have to repair it. Maybe the enemy realizes that the vehicle hit a mine there and actually reroutes the artillery fire over there. So it shoots you with the ML20, kills your repairing Storm Pioneers, kills half of your Panther. I don't know. It can work. It's really, really bad if you leave your enemy able to just place mines and get away with it, and you just don't get any minesweepers of your own. In fact, even the Allies really aren't getting any minesweepers. Med has 340 munitions, and he hasn't used Rapid Inscription. That's so annoying for me, because I really love that ability. He would have really done really well to actually use that. Now, actually, we see the artillery duel kind of evolving. We see that the German artillery gun took a lot of damage from the ML20, and the ML20, the new position of the ML20 is, I feel like, not really known to the Germans, or perhaps they can't even do anything about it, because as you can see, it's much safer than the other one. The other one was over here, and it was pretty open to any kind of attack from the Germans, especially counter battery fire. However, this one is in a very safe location, and that's really good when you're positioning your artillery piece. Sometimes you want the extra range, sometimes you want the extra safety. Now, the demo mine, as these guys should definitely retreat. These Volksgrenadiers cannot fight the American infantry with LMGs at all, so they should retreat. Now, again, the demo mine, what do? It's essentially placing down a demo charge and a mine at the same spot. And what that does is, when the mine explodes, when something runs over it, it detonates the demo charge. Now, what's really weird is that against vehicles, this is actually very dangerous, because for some reason, when a demo charge is detonated, or maybe it's the other way around, when a mine is detonated by a demo charge, or when a demo charge is detonated by a mine, I'm not really sure. But one or the other, when that happens, and a vehicle is obviously running over it, it's going to deal essentially something like 3 times the damage it should normally do as a demo charge against the vehicle. So it actually ends up dealing a huge amount of damage. I'm not sure if this bug was actually ever fixed, because I read this I read and tested this actually pretty much half a year ago. So I'm not sure if it was fixed, but knowing Relic, yeah. So now the Jagdpanzer is actually going down, and that's really, really bad for Jägermeister, because he needed a Jagdpanzer to counter the Soviet Su-85s. He needed that to counter the whatever American vehicle that were coming out, that would be coming out. Now, the 2 Jacksons have been left at base, not doing anything. I feel like that's obviously a pretty big mistake. Now, the Panther, ooh, the M20 mine. He's not going to go over the M20 mine. But he might go over the demo mine over here. Yeah, this Panther is running over a very, very dangerous area. Ooh, actually a... Wow, I'm not sure what happened to this T-34. Now, the main gun is destroyed. Very, very light, very, very actually closely avoiding the demo mine and coming in for a flank on the Soviet Su-85s. However, there is the bazooka blob ready to respawn. And we do actually see a zeroing artillery activated by Jägermeister. It's been active for quite a while, and the Americans should definitely be careful to not run into the zeroing artillery, as evidenced by this huge pile of corpses where the zeroing artillery is landing. Remember, zeroing artillery, very expensive. However, it lands a huge amount of shells with a really good accuracy over a long-ass period of time, because obviously you need to keep visual over the target area, as is evidenced by the icon where there is a little eye over here. Now, Calliope actually going for the barrage on the Schwer Panzer Recorders. Schwer Panzer Recorders almost going down for Jägermeister. Jägermeister, honestly, instead of going for this Panther, could have gone for the King Tiger by going for obviously mechanized regiment headquarters and going for the King Tiger. Now, his LEFH gun was unfortunately taken out, and right now the main problem of the Germans is just the fact that they cannot push with their armor because of the huge amount of tank destroyers that the Americans have and the Soviets have, and they cannot push with their infantry because of the huge amount of elite anti-infantry that the Allies have, especially the American riflemen with the LMGs. Because right now the Penal Blob is scary, okay, but the Penal Blob can be faced at long range, whereas the American riflemen with the M1919s are especially good at long range. So it's a bit of a pickle for the Germans, especially if the Allies were to use their support weapons a little bit more aggressively, especially the American ones, as the Soviets don't really have the ability to get any support weapons, but still. Actually, the Soviets could be going for a lot more units because, yeah, they are almost at full pop cap. However, they do have quite a bit of resources, so they could be a lot more aggressive with their pushes, especially thanks to rapid conscription. They could be a lot more aggressive, and also because of the fact that they've kind of replaced their losses thanks to their pretty good resource stockpiles. They should be a lot more aggressive. A bit of in lieu of how the Americans are playing. The Americans are playing a lot more aggressively with their riflemen, and that's a little bit more dangerous because, again, late game, the American riflemen are very, very much prone to sort of manpower bleeding you out, and that's really not good. By the way, this Panther was really, really, really overzealous, trying to run over the American riflemen. Very, very lucky that this machine gun exists. Actually, these two machine guns, suppressing down the riflemen, but a Su-85, yep, vet-free Su-85 coming in and destroying it. Now, since the last patch, the Su-85 vet-free was a little bit nerfed. It doesn't have the machine gun like reload that it had once upon a time. However, really, it is still really good because of its really good penetration. I just said really good like 7 times in a row. It's good penetration. It's obviously excellent range with the vet-free, and the obviously also it receives a few rate of fire bonuses, though it isn't quite as ridiculous as it used to be. Because really, it used to be a just machine gun at vet-free. Now, the M10 was actually abandoned by the vehicle crew. I feel like that's because Kersel is blob moving his stuff because he was afraid of a Stuka strike. Now that these Stern Pioneers have reached the area, he could see the forward retreat point with the ambulance. And in fact, just as planned, the Stuka strike does come down, but of course he managed to avoid it. So that was pretty much just what the doctor ordered. Really good play. That's scary. The Jackson should not be running about trying to fight Volksmariniers. In fact, there is a Panther coming in from last mile. He's going to be able to flank the Jackson, which means that the Jackson, alone and without friends, is going to pretty much die. And yeah, there's nothing that it can do, especially with the flanking, because the third rotation of the Jackson is really bad, and also the accuracy on the move. In fact, it's really, really lucky to actually get that last shot down on the Panther while it was dying. Out of control. The accuracy on the move of the Panther, no, not the Panther, the Jackson is really bad. So yeah, you don't want to be sort of trying to swivel your tank around to prevent the Panther from flanking you. Now, the vet-free Su-85 is also going to push up against the Panther. Panther taking quite a bit of damage from the American infantry. However, the Germans still have the VP lead. They have managed to bleed the Allies to 164, and that's not good because the Allies really need to not sort of succumb to VP bleed, because right now the main weapon that the Germans have is the fact that while their infantry is weaker, they can kind of split the attention of the Allies. The Allies have a couple of really powerful sort of specialized units. They have a lot of Pinos, which are really specialized anti-infantry, and they can deal with the German infantry right now. They cannot deal with the machine guns unless they can get a pretty good flank off. However, that's pretty much to be seen. Still, then the Americans have quite a lot of specialized anti-tank infantry, such as these rear echelons and the bazooka upgraded riflemen, and they have a lot of specialized anti-infantry, aka these LMG upgraded riflemen. And then there's pretty much their whole of their vehicle force. The whole of their vehicle force is entirely dedicated to anti-vehicle. So we have a Jackson from Kursel and 2 Su-85s from Med. Now Med is also going for 2 Katyushi, and I feel like that's a mistake because his ally Kursel has the much superior Sherman Calliope, which is a lot less dependent on RNG for success comparatively to the Katyusha. Excellent Stuka strike from last mile, taking out one of the rifleman squads. That was a vet-free rifleman squad with LMGs, so that is a huge loss that allows his Volksturniers a lot more room to maneuver and to do flanks and fight at long range, and just generally last longer in fights, which is going to help him by sort of capturing points, because he's going to be able to keep his units in the cap a lot longer. What this also does is it allows his machine guns to have a lot less fears of actually being sniped from the front by the LMG laser beams, which is a really big problem, in my opinion, in Company of Heroes. The fact that LMG infantry sometimes, especially in the later stages of the game, when it gets to vet-free, when it gets to be those double M1919 riflemen, those LMG Obersoldaten, when it gets to that point, those vet-free Grenadiers especially also, they can just walk up to a machine gun and laser beam it down from the front without having to worry about being suppressed, because they can kill the gunner before he can even just like get a shot off. And that's, in my opinion, a little bit ridiculous, and it should not be the case. However, yeah, essentially the reason that, well, one of the reasons that is really good that that squad was wiped out was because one squad can't really do that, whereas 2 squads possibly, especially if the machine gun is shooting at something else. Sorry for the interruption. Let's actually get this going again. Well, right now we have a bit of a problem. This Panther is about to hit the mines. Oh boy, the demo mine, as you can see, that's a huge amount of damage, and there goes the Panther. It's very low on HP. I feel like, oh, it's very lucky that this MG was actually recruited by Last Mile, so good play with his Grenadiers, recapturing that MG. And very lucky that the secondary over here anti-tank from the vehicle crew was not able to do anything. Now we have a Calliope barrage at the same time, but it's going to hit the engineers as well as the Germans, and also it wasn't really aimed at correctly. We have a secondary Katyusha barrage though, and this one was excellent actually, and it actually killed the Panther. No, the Panther hit the mine. Okay, so Panther hits the M20 mine, and even if it hadn't hit the M20 mine, it probably would have been Katyusha'd, because it wasn't the area of damage or effect of the Katyusha attack. Now, the Germans managed to make some pretty good advances in terms of territory with this attack. However, they've lost quite a bit of units, so that's a bit of a problem. They definitely lost a pretty big part of their offensive force with that Panther, though Last Mile can actually get a Command Panther. I'm not sure if he will do so. Okay, he will. I believe that is the correct decision. Mostly, actually, for a weird reason, because it does not need any building time, so he does not have to wait 1 minute or so for the Panther to actually come out. Now whoa! So the Panther comes on the field and it immediately gets hit by an artillery attack. Thus immediately it requires repairs. That's kind of unlucky. The artillery is obviously trying to hit the HQ, trying to snipe perhaps a retreating unit, snipe it while it is retreating and try to wipe it. But it doesn't seem to have worked. So the Allies do still have quite a lot of infantry. Now, we have a attack from these. Wow, actually, something managed to kill the Stern Pioneer before he could detonate the demo mine. Now, we have the ML-20, which has 25 kills. That's actually been spotted by the Stern Pioneers, though, despite the fact that the Stern Piles were actually finished off, we do have the fact that this new LEFH gun is managing to zero in on the ML20, and the ML20 does not know where it is being shot from. It cannot return fire yet because it's on cooldown, so it's in general not having its best day. Now we have some Vet 4 Volksgrenadiers trying to make ends meet in the center, and we have that the Germans really only need a few more minutes of a double cap, and a gun crew has been lost, so it looks like the Raketenwerfer was wiped in the south? Artillery barrage, most likely. Yeah, we have a Katyusha in a really weird position. It could be much better used in the center. I'm not sure as to why it is there. Now, good wipe from these riflemen, taking out one of the Volksgrenadiers. Unfortunately for the Allies, we have a cloaked Raketenwerfer managing to actually capture the point. Excellent usage of that to avoid being taken out while capping. We have a satchel charge going down on the Pak 43, but I don't think it's going to be enough. In fact, it's only one satchel charge. Med had enough munitions to actually go for more than just one satchel charge, and I feel like he should have done that, but he was perhaps quite scared about the fact that he was being attacked by a lot of units. Now we have a Katyusha barrage coming in that's actually probably going to destroy the gun. I'll just check that later. Now, in the center, the American counterattack is going to fail because we have a lot of German troops coming in to capture the point. We have a double cap for the Germans. Actually, the Volksgrenadiers are going to be able to obtain a light machine gun from the corpses of the riflemen. There's also another light machine gun over here that could be acquired. However, the squad being upgraded with SDGs cannot get the weapon, so it's going to have to fall down to this Vet 2 Volksgrenadier, which now has 2 light machine guns, so it's going to be very scary to actually face. We have a smoke grenade from the Obersoldaten actually forcing back the other 2 riflemen squads, so that was a good usage of the frangible smoke grenade, Blennkörper. Which is obviously a very, very dangerous little weapon because it pretty much slows the enemy down a whole bunch, thus forcing the enemy to take the damage of essentially a white phosphorus. Now, excellent Stuka barrage manages to find the ambulance, takes out, I believe, a rifleman squad with LMGs, so that was an excellent little play. And also, since the Major was there as a retreat point, right now the Americans have to retreat to the base, which is obviously really bad because they're losing a bunch of points, they're bleeding really heavily, and in the north we have the Germans also capturing the north, so they really needed to be able to reinforce quickly over there. And right now, as you can see, all the American anti-infantry and the Soviet anti-infantry has been pushed back, and only now the Penals are making their return to the center to try to capture, even under the fire of this machine gun. And essentially, because all their anti-infantry was defeated and had to retreat, right now they cannot in any way cope with the capping power of the Germans. We have a Katyusha barrage coming in, desperation against the MG. However, the Katyusha barrage is not exactly the most precision sort of strike, so it's going to probably even fail to even just kill this one guy, which is a bit of a shame. We have... so the Penals actually managed to capture a point thanks to the fact that this is an MG34, so its suppression is not that great. Now, the flak half-track over here from Jägermeister trying to hold the north for the Germans. However, the satchel charge forcing it to retreat means that the Penals are going to be able to capture the northern point, thus giving a little bit of a breather to the Allies. We have a nice job in the south. We actually had a recon run from the Americans. Of course, tactical support does have the recon run, and the Jacksons managed to actually snipe the Sherp Panzer headquarters. However, what this Jackson really needs to do is get down here and pop the crew out. And if he popped the crew out, he could definitely capture the point without having to worry about Raketenwerfers, without having to worry about and Sank. Of course, the German troops with LMGs would be a bit of a problem. However, it wouldn't be as much of a problem as losing, because really that is the alternative. Now we have the Major with the sprint coming in. However, still he needs to get this Jackson crew out because their grease guns at close range are actually fairly decent. Now we get a bit of a lucky break from the Sherman actually catching the crew off with the HE rounds. However, there's still 3 Volksgrenadier squads, and the rear echelons are actually standing in the fire of the incendiary grenade. We have a Stuka barrage. It was actually not aimed correctly, however, it still managed to do a lot of damage. Again, that Stuka, definitely an MVP this game. I'm not sure where it is. It's over here, Vet 4 even, with 47 kills. So that's definitely one of the main reasons why the Germans were able to thin out the Allied infantry so much. Now, in the north, we have the SUs coming in, destroying easily the flak half-track. However, again, I would really like to see more T-34s out of Ahmed, because right now he can't really deal with this machine gun. If he had a veteran T-34, if he had conserved, especially preserved his T-70 out, he could have that capture the point without having to worry about getting pinned. In the south, we have a counterattack from the Germans that managed to capture the point. However, Calliope Barrage is going to force them back, but it doesn't matter because the game's over. Whoa, what a game. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now, let's actually talk about the mistakes that could have been avoided. Again, I feel like the selection of units for the Soviet player, the builds, was not exactly optimal. The ML20 was definitely good. However, he wasn't really able to use the rest of his pop cap really efficiently. The two SUs were really nice. However, at one point, one has to ask himself whether or not these two Katyushas were really any good, because Katyushi are very, very prone to RNG. And, well, his ally, he had Calliopes, which are much less prone to RNG because of their superior sort of saturation on an area, and their superior also radius that they hit. So it's much easier with the Calliope to actually score a lot of kills. In fact, this one Calliope that's been alive for most of the game, 20 kills, but 2. And I feel like a little bit more action with T-34s would have been really good. I'm not sure when the T-70 died, but also having that die was a pretty big mistake, because then he had to sort of run around with his SUs on focus site quite a lot. And that was obviously not very good, because the SUs are very, very slow with that on. You don't want that to be your situation. But at the same time, you also have the fact that the American player, while he had a really good infantry force for a long time, he kept walking around it really blobbed up, which is something that you normally want to do if you don't have any enemy artillery, which it was definitely not the case this game. The Stuka managed to deal a huge amount of damage against them, and it pretty much broke his infantry force eventually, along with the machine guns, because of course machine guns are really good against clumped up units. And that was pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. However, what could he have done really differently? Well, first off, I feel like he could have used his captain tier a little better. And what I mean by that is the fact that his support weapons, especially his anti-tank gun, were used really, really defensively, and not really supporting his riflemen at all during the game, whereas his M20 was always excellently microed. He did really well with that. He just kind of decided to not really pay attention to his support weapons, and when the enemy armor started to come out, that became a bit of a problem, because yes, the Germans did lose their armor in some stupid ways. However, it was still enough so that they could use their artillery a little bit better. They could use their infantry to capture points. And in fact, that led partially to the fact that the Germans were able to fortify, especially the southern VP, but also a little bit the center VP, and lead to a VP victory. So that's pretty much it. So I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you soon.